So I wasn't here last week, but I did watch the video. So you guys got the whole scoop on all the baby mamas, right?
Yes.
So Jacob's uncle is also his father-in-law, kind of thing. All right, everybody's up to speed with that. So we'll be in Genesis 31. We're going to start in verse 1. Now Jacob heard what Laban's sons were saying. Jacob had taken all that was our father's and has built this wealth from what belonged to our father. And Jacob saw from Laban's face that his attitude toward him was not the same as before. The Lord said to him, "Go back to the land of your ancestors and to your family, and I will be with you." Jacob had Rachel and Leah called to the field where his flocks were. He said to them, "I can see from your father's face that his attitude toward me is not the same as before. But the God of my father has been with me. You know that with all my strength I have served your father, and that he has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God has not let him harm me. If he said, 'The spotted sheep will be your wages,' then all the sheep were born spotted. If he said, 'The streaked sheep will be your wages,' then all the sheep were born streaked. God has taken away your father's herds and given them to me. When the flocks were breeding, I saw in a dream that the streaked, spotted, and speckled males were mating with the females. In that dream, the angel of God said to me, 'Jacob,' and I said, 'Here I am.' And he said, 'Look up and see, all the males that are mating with the flocks are streaked, spotted, and speckled, for I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you poured oil on the stone marker and made a solemn vow to me. Get up, leave this land, and return to your native land.' Then Rachel and Leah answered him, 'Do we have any portion or inheritance in our father's family? Are we not regarded by him as outsiders? For he has sold us and has certainly spent our purchase price. In fact, all the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. So do whatever God has said to you.' So Jacob got up and put his children and wives on the camels. He took all the livestock and possessions he had acquired and paid them in, and he drove his herds to go to the land of Canaan to see his father Isaac. When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household idols. And Jacob deceived Laban, the Aramean, not telling him that he was fleeing. He fled with all his possessions, crossed the Euphrates, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. So we see in chapter 1 that Laban's sons are jealous. Jacob is thriving. And why is it that Jacob is thriving? Because God is with him. Yes, yeah. God said he would be with him, and God is with him. But the sons of Laban begin turning Laban's heart against Jacob. And so we see Laban confronting and accusing Jacob as we read into verse into verse 21. Laban discovers, verse 22, we didn't read it yet, but verse 22, we're going to see that it takes 3 days for him to realize that Jacob is gone, that they're all gone. What does that tell you about how close he is with his family? Or how much he cares about what they're doing, right? Where they're at. But what we know is that God has prepared Jacob to leave, and he has so much wealth, and we know that because of the camels that he places all of his family on, right? Mm-hmm. So remember, in this day, wealth was determined by really by what you had, your possessions, much like today. But their possessions were more like livestock. And so he had so much livestock, not just from the deal that he made with Laban, but just what he had built up over his years here. And so we know that he was very, very wealthy. Laban was probably jealous of that fact, that Laban was losing things to Jacob. So imagine this father-in-law uncle feeling jealous. We're talking about family dynamics, right?
Father-in-law, oh God, sorry.
It is what it is. I mean, he was an uncle first, and then he became a father-in-law because he married both of his cousins who were sisters. So, I mean, we already have family drama going on, right? Did she miss last week?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is good stuff. This is like As the World Turns 101. Yes, there you go. There you go. So at God's command, Jacob prepared to leave secretly. Why do you think he felt like he had to leave secretly?
Because he didn't want any conflict.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Laban
think there
didn't
could have
remember.
been a lot of conflict between him and Jacob, or him and Laban. And he was taking his daughters.
He was taking.
Did he really care about the girls though?
Well, we hear what the girls say about that,
Well,
right?
he can use that as an excuse, but he had showed his hand so many times about what kind of person he was.
Yes.
Right.
So, I mean, there was no reason for Jacob not to think that he would do something underhanded to him.
Right.
Or
That's
try
what I
to
was thinking,
prevent
trying to do
him.
something to
He
conceal.
Yeah, to stay.
knew.
Oh,
safe.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
and Laban was kind of
he
like
knew when his
benefiting
character
from all
was.
the
Yeah, absolutely.
wealth that
Well, because Jacob was working for
Jacob
him.
had.
Yeah.
Because didn't he barter his daughters for every time?
For
And you have to
14
work
years.
for this many years and this many years.
Right.
So yeah, Laban was benefiting from
Yes.
Jacob.
Exactly.
Correct.
Absolutely. And that's what we see in verse 14. The girls are saying, we don't have any inheritance, and whatever was ours is gone now. And so we belong to you, Jacob. We will go wherever you tell us to go. And so Jacob is planning to deceive him, but Rachel has a plan of her own and decides to take her father's idols as she leaves.
And what is that? Like his gold or what is
Whatever it
Yeah,
was.
like little
Like actual, he would have been an idol worshiper, and so like actual little idols. So
Trinket
would have been
figures.
almost little.
Figurines.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
He was Armenian, so they didn't follow.
Okay.
Yes. So true idol worship.
True idol worship.
Yeah, and so we see now Rachel's engaging in some deception here, right? It's just an ongoing family drama of deception. And that's going to come into play in the next section. But while Laban is busy shearing his sheep, okay, so he's busy focusing on his own livestock and taking care of them, again, because that's the way he's making money. And Jacob has had what seems to Laban easy wealth. God has blessed him with everything. Did y'all follow about the sheep, right? The deal they made about the spotted sheep and
Yeah.
so that was last week. Let's go to verse 22. On the third day, Laban was off shearing his sheep. On the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. So he took his relatives with him, pursued Jacob for 7 days, and overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban, the Aramean, in a dream at night. Watch yourself, God warned him. Don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. When Laban overtook Jacob, Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban and his relatives also pitched their tents in the hill country of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done? You have deceived me and taken my daughters away like prisoners of war. Why did you secretly flee from me, deceive me, and not tell me? I would have sent you away with joy and singing, with tambourines and lyres. But you didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters. You have acted foolishly. I could do you great harm. But last night the God of your father said to me, watch yourself. Don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Now you have gone off because you long for your father's family. But why have you stolen my gods?" Do you believe that he would have sent him off
No,
with joy and singing?
absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. Jacob answered, "I was afraid, for I thought you would take your daughters from me by force." Is that probably what he would have done?
Yeah.
Yes. "If you find your gods with anyone here, he will not live.
Uh-oh.
Before our relatives, point out anything that is yours and take it." Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the idols. I love this part. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, Leah's tent, and the tents of the 2 concubines, but he found nothing. Then he left Leah's tent, he went into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken Laban's household idols, put them in the saddlebag of the camel, and sat on them. Laban searched the whole tent, but found nothing. She said to her father, "Don't be angry, my lord, that I cannot stand up in your presence. I am having my period." So Laban searched, but could not find the household idols. Way to be a woman.
She's slick. Her dad taught her everything he knows
Yes,
about
yes.
Lion and lion.
Exactly. So, I don't know why, I just love that she uses her womanhood to protect herself and protect her husband. After 3 days, Laban discovers they fled, right? And so he gathers this hunting party of relatives. Like, we are going after him. Instead of just letting them go, he's angry, right? He's already jealous, now he's angry, and they're going after him. But
Laban didn't listen to that first dream, because God told him, don't say anything to him.
That's right.
But in verse 29, he does.
Yes.
He confronts him.
Absolutely.
And he tells him that God told him not to. Yeah, he says, but God told me.
Yes, and he even said what God told him, and he got that right? He repeated it correctly.
But he just
But
didn't
still
abide it.
Right, exactly. He's recognizing the God of Jacob, right?
He's just
He's
your
He's
God.
been,
Yeah, but
that's
it's
right,
your God.
the God of Jacob.
Yes.
But the God of Jacob spoke to Laban. He heard from him, and he still disobeyed. Didn't listen, right? And he claims that, why did you run? Why did you flee in the dark of night, right? Why did you take my daughters and my grandchildren? I would have sent you off with joy and singing. We had a feast and
No, we wouldn't.
long goodbyes. And
No, we
we know
wouldn't.
that's not
It was
true.
like in 7 years, but.
Again,
It might have taken another 7 years.
Another 7 years,
but
I
we'd
will
have done
let
it.
you leave, right?
Right?
But we know based on his past character that that's not true. And again, we see our character is made up of all the little things that we say and do over time. Laban threatens Jacob, right? But he also reveals that God has spoken to him in a dream. And he knows that someone in the camp had taken the idols. Jacob didn't know anything about it.
So
He
he's
didn't know that it
honest.
was his wife.
He's telling the truth.
When he said, whoever it is, let them not live. Right?
When he said that, I was like, oh.
Yes, the
Is
search is
Rebecca
conducted.
Rachel.
And then
Rachel.
Yes.
It's the one he
Right.
wanted initially, but he got Leah, then he had to wait 7 more years, and then he got Rachel.
Okay.
Well, he got Rachel, and then he had to wait he worked another 7 years. So he got them all. He got them both within a week or two, right?
Right, but it was
Had
all
back-to-back
that's
7-day
right.
celebrations.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, back-to-back honeymoons, but then was basically a
That's
slave
right.
to his father-in-law.
Yeah.
So a search is conducted for the missing idols. He goes into each person's tent, looks through all their stuff. Jacob had basically said, look through it all, because he was convinced nobody had it, right? Not knowing that Rachel had taken it. Well, the deceitful Rachel had hidden the idols under herself, and claims that she can't get up because it is her time of the month. So Laban searched and did not find any of the idols. Let's keep reading, starting in verse 36. Then Jacob became incensed and brought charges against Laban. What is my crime? He said to Laban. What is my sin that you have pursued me? You've searched all my possessions. Have you found anything of yours? Put it here before my relatives and yours, and let them decide between the two of us. I've been with you these 20 years. Your ewes and female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams from your flock. I did not bring you any of the flock torn by wild beasts. I myself bore the loss. You demanded payment from me for what was stolen by day or by night. There I was. The heat consumed me by day and the frost by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. For 20 years in your household I served you. 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks. And you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac, had not been with me, certainly now you would have sent me off empty-handed. But God has seen my affliction and my hard work, and he issued his verdict last night. Then Laban answered Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, the children my children, and the flocks my flocks. Everything you see is mine. But what can I do today for these daughters of mine or for the children they have borne? Come now, let's make a covenant, you and I. Let it be witness between the two of us. So Jacob picked out a stone and set it up as a marker. Then Jacob said to his relatives, gather stones. And they took stones and made a mound. then ate there by the mound. Laban named the mound Jegar-sahadutha. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. And Jacob named it Galeed. Then Laban said, "The mound is a witness between you and me today." Therefore, the place was called Galeed, and also Mizpah, for he said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters or take other wives, though no one is with us, understand that God will be a witness between you and me."
Well, is this Laban talking? Because Laban don't believe in God.
Laban also said to Jacob, "Look at this mound and the marker I have set up between you and me. This mound is a witness, and the marker is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this mound to you, and you will not pass beyond this mound and this marker to do me harm. The God of Abraham and the gods of Nahor, the gods of their father, will judge between us." And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his relatives to eat a meal. So they ate a meal and spent the night on the mountain. Laban got up early in the morning, kissed his grandchildren and daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban left to return home. Whew,
How could
so
he bless the grandchildren? Yes, he could just.
why? Did you say why?
How?
How can he? I'm not really sure. How can he bless them? He's not blessing them in any type of financial way. And so maybe it's just a
Maybe it was
blessing
just like, "I'll miss you, kiss
for
and a
their-
hug, bye, you're off on your way and I have to go this
I'll never
way."
see you again.
Right,
So,
right.
And
Right.
he
I think bless may not have been the
And he-
literal
and he doesn't
meaning.
believe in God, so it's
Right.
not a godly blessing, right? It's not a
Yes, that's what I was
divine
thinking.
blessing.
I
A
was
goodwill,
thinking
I mean, just a goodwill, I wish you goodwill
Right.
in the future.
Yeah. So Jacob grows impatient with Laban and goes on a tirade about all the injustice he's endured. Okay? So all these injustices for 20 years, he finally,
Has had it.
blah, right?
I'll bet he felt better.
I bet he felt better. Yes, I bet he did. Laban boldly reveals his heart by proclaiming that everything that belongs to Jacob really belongs to Laban, but he's letting Jacob have it all. Out of the goodness of his heart, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
he said so.
Out of the goodness of
It
his
took
heart.
20 years to find the goodness of his heart.
What's interesting is Laban is actually the one who suggests this covenant of peace, because maybe he knows Jacob is right. He really can't do anything. He doesn't have power over Jacob or what Jacob decides, and he knows that Jacob's God has been with
Maybe
him.
he's afraid of Jacob's God.
I think he is. I think that he uses that whole thing of he knows about the covenant relationship that God has, and I think he believes that Jacob believes it, so Jacob will adhere to that.
Yes.
So he'll not come back and harm him. He'll not do whatever, and maybe he cares a little bit about his daughters. I don't know, but I feel like that he's just using that because he knows Jacob believes it.
Yeah.
So it's not that he believes it, but
Even through Laban's words there in the end of that section we just read, in chapter 31, we can still hear that he doesn't fully trust Jacob. His vow is basically, if you do wrong, God's going to see it and punish you. Right? That God you believe in, if you do wrong, he's going to punish you. And so he's not fully trusting that Jacob is going to take care of his daughters and grandchildren.
Who are you to tell me what God's gonna do?
Laban's, what?
Who are you to tell me what my God's gonna do to me?
Yeah. Laban's claims that God is watching when his heart is attached to wood and stone that can be stolen. And after a final meal together, he says his goodbyes, returns home, and we assume that they never see each other again. That's the last that we hear of that. So that is how we get to the end of chapter 31 and see that Jacob is now finally separated from his uncle / father-in-law. So he has this huge caravan, right? We talked about he's got a camel for every family member, which we know is a lot, including his other wives, baby mamas, for lack of a better term, and all the servants, all the things, plus all the livestock, plus, I mean, just a huge caravan. We can't even comprehend probably what this looks like. But he's going home. And if you remember from several chapters back, he wasn't supposed to go home until when?
Till
His brothers had calmed down.
Till his mother sent for him.
Yeah, and said that you can
His
come back.
mother was gonna send for him when Esau wasn't angry anymore. And why was Esau angry?
Cause
So
he
it's
stole
still
her
birthright.
birthright.
Because
He had everything.
Yes. He deceived his father, he deceived their father, and stole Esau's not only birthright, but blessing. Okay, so the birthright was stolen when he pretended to be Esau.
So that would beg that Jacob wasn't a very good person, right?
Jacob had some deception going on.
And the big, like when
His
he,
mom helped him.
His mom helped him be
because he was a mama's boy.
Mhm.
But
His
then,
mom's favorite.
but then, it seems as if he redeemed himself after he left.
Mhm.
No?
In what way?
Well, he worked for that man.
He did work for that man, yes. So I think what we see in
He
that
still
is
had
that
faith in
we're
God.
all bad.
Right.
That's the point. We're
Okay.
all bad. We're all deceitful.
Remember when he left and he ran away and he slept on the rock? And then God came to him and said, I'm gonna do all these things for you. And he said, okay, if you do, I'm gonna follow you. But if you don't, what was like, so he was
Okay.
still making conditions on what he was gonna do
Okay.
for God. So
Mhm.
Jacob, just like us, was just, I mean, a human, right? So he had all these flaws.
And
he
our
just-
agreements with God are often conditional. And the point is that God's not.
Yeah.
God's not
Right.
conditional. So God's promise and covenant wasn't dependent on how Jacob was acting or behaving.
God's promises never have strings, ours.
Right. It was supposed to be Jacob's. It was supposed to be Jacob's. All right. So let's see what happens as he's preparing to go home. Chapter 32. Jacob went on his way, and God's angels met him. Gosh, we gotta go fast, guys. When he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's camp." So he called that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the territory of Edom. He commanded them, "You are to say to my lord Esau, this is what your servant Jacob says. I have been staying with Laban and have been delayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female slaves. I have sent this message to inform my lord in order to seek your favor." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau. He is coming to meet you, and he has 400 men with him." Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided the people with him into 2 camps, along with the flocks, herds, and camels. He thought, if Esau comes to one camp and attacks it, the remaining one can escape. Then Jacob said, "God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, 'Go back to your land and to your family, and I will cause you to prosper.' I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. Indeed, I crossed over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 camps. Please rescue me from my brother Esau, for I am afraid of him. Otherwise he may come and attack me, the mothers, and their children. You have said, 'I will cause you to prosper, and I will make your offspring like the sand of the sea, too numerous to be counted.'" As he approaches home, he's filled with fear, because as he sends his men ahead of him to prepare the way, they come back and say, "Esau's coming with 400 men. And do you think they were all coming with great fanfare to welcome him home? No. Remembering that
Because
Esau,
he's real mad right about now.
Esau had
Still 20 years later.
vowed to kill him just 20 years before, after Jacob had stolen his blessing. And remember, in this time, vows and promises were taken very seriously. Rebekah had never sent for Jacob, as she had promised. So Jacob had every right to fear that Esau was still filled with rage and wanted him dead. Jacob sees the angels, right? He sees that he was not alone, but he's still not convinced of God's protection. And so he wanted to beg for mercy. He didn't get that. They are coming, and he is coming, and he's coming with a very capable army of 400 men. And so in fear, Jacob divides up his family, hoping that at least half of them can be saved. If one camp is attacked, the other camp will at least still be alive and can possibly escape. And as he does that, he also prays. and he humbles himself before God. I think that goes back to kind of what you were talking about, is he recognizes that he is unworthy.
Yes.
He is unworthy of what God has promised, but he's reminding God of his
But
promises.
you did promise me this, so
He's
I'm
reminding
happy you're
God of
making
his
sure you didn't
promises.
forget.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. We ought to also remind God of the promises because they do belong to us. And again, they are not conditional. So God's promises in his word, every one of them is for every one of us. And so may we take an example here from Jacob, who hasn't done right all along, who has been deceitful, but who is reminding God, this is what you promised me. Let me prosper. Verse 13, he spent the night there and took part of what he had brought with him as a gift for his brother Esau. 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He entrusted them to his slaves as separate herds and said to them, go on ahead of me and leave some distance between the herds. And he told the first one, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, who do you belong to? Where are you going? And whose animals are these ahead of you? Then tell him they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau. And look, he is behind us. He also told the second one, the third, and everyone who was walking behind the animals. So say the same thing to Esau when you find him. You are also to say, look, your servant Jacob is right behind us. For he thought, I want to appease Esau with the gift that is going ahead of me. After that, I can face him, and perhaps he will forgive me. So the gift was sent on ahead of him while he remained in the camp that night. During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 slave women, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, along with all of his possessions. And so Jacob is basically saying, if I can, shower him with gifts ahead of my presence, maybe he won't kill me, right? And so what's interesting here to me, though, is that he had just prayed, asking God to protect him. And then he said, but I'm going to have a plan just in case.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy my brother's love just in case God isn't faithful. Even though I just told God that I'm thankful for his faithfulness. And so he's hoping that Esau's wrath will be reduced by all of the gifts. And these are gifts. These are major gifts.
And he set up so they just kind of keep coming.
Yes.
Another one. And
Yes.
then there's more.
More and more and more. Absolutely. And then that just tells us how wealthy Jacob really had become, that he's able to give away this many livestock. Jacob was showing all the wealth that he had. And he also wanted Esau to know, I'm not coming to take anything that belongs to you. I'm not coming to take anything else. God has blessed me. I have enough. And in fact, I'm sharing it with you. All right. So he sends all of his people and possessions across the Jordan River. And Jacob spends the night alone. Jacob wrestles with God. Jacob, in verse 24, Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw, that is like the most loaded sentence in the entire Old Testament. There's probably 1,000 loaded sentences, but this is just, it's a short sentence. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. Wow, where did that come from, right? When the man saw that he could not defeat him, he struck Jacob's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Then he said to Jacob, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. Jacob, he replied. Your name will no longer be Jacob, he said. It will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. But he answered, why do you ask my name? And he blessed him there. Jacob then named the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face. He said, yet my life has been spared. The sun shone on him as he passed by Peniel, limping because of his hip. That is why, still today, the Israelites don't eat the thigh muscle that is at the hip socket, because he struck Jacob's hip socket at the thigh muscle. All right. After sending all of the things, all of the people away, a mysterious man comes and wrestles Jacob throughout the night.
That's so
And in the
bizarre.
middle of the wrestling match, the man touches his hip joint. So funny, we were talking about our hips earlier today, right? Causing it to just pop out of socket. So first we see the power in whoever this man is. It doesn't say that he attacked him. He simply touched his hip and it was out of socket. It shows the strength that this man is actually holding back. Could he have destroyed Jacob? Yes, this is God, okay? So this is Jesus, okay, in form, human form, before, of course, the whole Christmas story, right? Before
How do you know that?
Jesus in flesh, before his
How
birth,
do you know that's Jesus?
okay?
Because when-
Say that again, I'm sorry?
How do you know that's Jesus? Where does it say that's Jesus?
Jesus, so we know it's Jesus because anytime God is in flesh, it is the form of Jesus. So God in flesh is Jesus. God in the Spirit is the Holy Spirit, and we see that in wind and
Anything hovering.
yes, absolutely. And then of course God the Father in heaven. So God the Son in Jesus in flesh before his birth. And Jacob was really wrestling with his own doubts and fears while he was wrestling with God.
And that's just like such a picture of like,
Such a picture.
of him wrestling with him and saying, you told me all this stuff,
Yes,
but then I'm gonna send, I gotta plan myself.
I gotta plan
So
myself.
I'm gonna send all these gifts and I'm gonna do all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Even
go
though I
do that.
believe you, but I'm still gonna wrestle with my faith. I'm still
I
gonna,
have to go get the kids from the children's building.
and that's like, that's that whole picture of that.
Yes, the whole picture of Jacob is wrestling nonstop. So even when he's not physically wrestling with God, he's wrestling. He's wrestling. He has fears and he has doubts. And I think that's so relatable, right? Because we know what God's word says about God has plans to prosper us and not to harm us and give us hope and a future. But do we doubt that every single day? Yes, we do. He limped away and he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. God blesses Jacob, gives him a new name, Israel. Israel means God strives or God rules. And this name will actually be a banner over the people of Israel. They will spend thousands of years wrestling with God. This is not the last time the people of Israel will wrestle with their trust and faith. To remember this event, Jacob calls the name Peniel, which means face of God. And again, the Jews still to this day do not eat the hip joint of any animal. Jacob has a daily reminder. He'd be forced to remember with every step this journey he'd taken with God and that God had conquered him and in turn blessed him. Relate.
Still, I'm not even put into words that he wrestled with, he could have easily defeated him.
Yeah.
But he didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because he sees so much
Yes.
in Jacob.
Yes. And because he can't break his promises. He can't
Right.
break his promises. And he made a covenant that's not dependent on anything Jacob could do.
I also see that even though Jacob has struggled so hard to believe and have faith, at the end, daylight is coming.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, let me go.
That's right.
And in his, to me, in his whatever weak-like faith, he won't let him go, right? He still is struggling so hard, and he says, he won't let him go. And so he reaches out and does that to him, and he says, bless me.
Yes.
Before you're gonna let me go, and so he changes his name. So it's like, I still feel like that, even though we know Jacob's very fallible, like we've watched all his life so far, that he wanted so much maybe to be faithful to God, but he just didn't have the
that
ability.
mustard seed.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just feel like
And
that
that's
it is-
relatable.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and that's that thing, is that even though God gave him all these promises, he still struggled, but God was still faithful enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see with Laban and with Jacob that God knows the intent of the heart. really knows the intent of our heart. He knew Laban's intent was deceit. It wasn't for anything good. Jacob, his heart really does want to be faithful. Let me pause. Sorry. I think she usually hits stop.